People are coming in.
Yeah, I see them all coming in.
Okay, we'll get started. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to May's Lunch and Learn. We're so excited we're able to join us this afternoon for this hour, and we're excited to have the chat with our CEO, Troy McLellan. Before we begin, I just want to do a few housekeeping items. This program is being recorded, and a copy of it will be sent to you after the presentation, and you can also find it on our YouTube page. One of the things we'll be able to do later in the presentation is answer your questions that you have for Troy. And to do that, we ask that you please use the chat function. And if you pull down the chat box, you'll see you can send a message directly to me. And we ask that you address your questions directly to me. That way we don't lose track of them. And please try and minimize the chatting in the chat box so that if questions go in there that want to be answered, we can see them and have them for later on. Also, we are so thankful to have Larissa from I Think Financial with us today. She's the sponsor of today's program. And so I'm going to turn over to Larissa first, and she will say a few words. Larissa?
Hello, everybody. It's nice to see you guys again. I just wanted to say thank you for coming to the Lunch and Learn and listening to what Troy has to say. And letting you know that, your local credit union is still open, still operating. We are rolling out a new feature to be able to make appointments with us on our website or the phone so that you can come in to the branches and it will be managed for social distancing purposes and things like that and on your time. So we're really excited about that new feature. And again, we're here to help with your business needs, personal needs, still taking payroll protection applications. There's still funds available. So if you still need that, please contact me and we will get you set up as soon as possible. It's about a 15-day turnaround from when you have your application to having your funds, 15 to 20 days, I would say. We get it approved quick and we get those funds that you need. If you need anything, just contact me.
Thank you, Larissa.
You're welcome.
So with that now, it gives me great pleasure to introduce our speaker today, Troy McLellan, the president and CEO of our chamber. I'm going to read his official biography, even though I know that
Don't read the whole thing. Don't read the whole thing.
Probably do a few things on the side here. But Troy is obviously the president and the CEO of our chamber. He is the president of the largest chamber in Palm Beach County and has been with the chamber for 21 years. He is the past chair and current board member of the Florida Association of Chamber Professionals and serves on the board of the U.S. Chambers Committee of 100 and the Florida Chamber Federation. He is also a past chair and current board member of Discover the Palm Beaches and serves on the boards of the Young Entrepreneurship Academy, the Boca Chambers Golden Bell Education Foundation, and the Business Leaders United for Boca Raton PAC. Other local board seats include the Research Park Foundation, the Community Academies Advisory Board, and the 100 Club, which serves the Boca Raton Police and Fire Departments, and the Palm Beach County Sheriff's Office, and the Highway Patrol. He is also on the City of Boca Raton's Affordable Housing Committee. He received his chamber certified executive designation in 2017, and his Florida Certified Chamber Professional designation from the Florida Association of Chamber Professionals in 2012. He's a graduate of the Aspen Institutes of Transformational Leadership Program and the Institute of Economic Development at the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill. He is originally from New Hampshire and has been living in Boca Raton for 20 years. And so with that, please welcome Troy.
All right, Jonathan, thank you very much for that intro. I think basically what Jonathan just said was that I was old, saying all those things. But let me first thank Larissa and I Think Financial for her support and her sponsorship and continuing to support our chamber in the times when we need it most, I think is providing valuable services to the business community right now. And so Larissa, thank you for that very much. We appreciate it. And to you, Jonathan, thank you for coordinating this event. And I'm happy to be here at the Boynton Beach Lunch and Learn to be your speaker. I could talk for an entire hour about this organization, about what we're doing, and about what is going on in the business community and in the world today. But I want to make it a little bit interactive. So make sure you send your questions to Jonathan so he can manage those as we go through, and we'll try to answer them all. If we can't, we'll do it after the fact. And if there's something that we don't know, then we'll get the answer and let you know for sure. It is National Police Week. I see Debbie Levine on the call, so you probably saw my CEO message yesterday, which recognized that. And so, Debbie, we appreciate all that you're doing, and we appreciate all of our police agencies in our region and in our county for what they're doing, serving on the front line. So thank you for joining us. Appreciate it. And to everybody else, it's great to see a ton of familiar faces on my screen here. It kind of makes it feel like we're in the same room, kind of. But it's good to see everybody's faces. I know that Commissioner Hay was scheduled to come on. I don't know if he's there. I haven't seen him, but if he is, I want to just recognition to Boynton Beach Commissioner Hay. Welcome him back to the Boynton Beach Commission. Glad to have him back up there on the dais with his colleagues. So let me first start out by just a couple things about the chamber, and I don't want to go over stuff that you already know, but then I want to talk about how we've pivoted during this time. I mean, we're 8 weeks into the craziest time of, I'm sure, all our lives. Since no one was around during the Great Depression on this call. And so, I mean, it's that kind of magnitude when it comes to economic impact, certainly. And then we've just got the other component, which is the health component. So as a Chamber of Commerce, in normal times, it's critical for us to make sure that we are doing our job, which is to make sure we have economic prosperity in the communities that we serve in South Palm Beach County. And so when this hit, when the outbreak hit, we realized very quickly that we still needed to do that. We still needed to do what we can to make sure that we have some level of economic prosperity, understanding that economic prosperity 3 months ago is very different than economic prosperity today. And what does that mean? And I think even saying economic prosperity in these times is a little bit of a stretch. But our role had to be one of being a trusted resource for our membership and, quite frankly, for the entire business community to turn to for relevant information to help our businesses get to the next day, get to the next step, get to the next week, so they could survive through it while all of the other activity was happening, whether it was, the federal government's first stimulus package, the second stimulus package. What does that mean? PPP, EIDL, what do all those things mean? And so we have been on top of all of that on a daily basis, making sure that we're providing you with that kind of information. So, on a normal time, we're going to conduct 7 leads groups on 2 every month, ongoing. We're going to conduct 3 committee meetings: economic development, tourism, government affairs. We're going to have our women's group, our over 40, our under 40, all of that activity that we normally had before, we're still having, as you all know. And so we had to pivot really quick. We are experts at the Zoom platform. I can tell you, I'm not, but the team is. I know how to get on and do this, but we know how to use Zoom very well to our advantage and to make sure that we're bringing you all together. So when we think about our acronym of CAPE, our guiding pillars, CAPE, the C stands for connecting members. And so again, we're doing everything we did before virtually, except our large, what we call Big 10. Those are those big annual events that we have, and those are large gathering events. So obviously, that's not happening right now. We were able to, our fiscal year starts November 1, you may know, and so we were able to have 4 of our big annual events prior to the outbreak. And like all of you on this call who were involved in organizations that have big annual events, we've pushed it back to the end of the year. And now we realize that, as we continue to go through it, that it's a moving target. And then we realize, there's like 8 other organizations that want to have something on that Friday night that you want to have it. So I think it's going to be interesting as we move forward when we think about that space, the large event space. First of all, whether organizations like ours or other, fundraising nonprofit organizations are going to actually have them, what they're going to look like. And clearly when the hotels start to open up, and the hotels have some fantastic guidelines coming into their facilities, but when we talk about large group stuff, how that's going to impact so many people, so many nonprofits, and then of course the chamber as well. When we think about what does a black tie look like in the future, probably not going to be 300 or 400 people. So those are things that we're constantly evaluating, and we're moving that forward. And we'll hopefully, we will figure it out, and we'll pivot to what that looks like everybody else. The nice thing that, you hear me say in all my CEO messages, that we're in this together. And, we've all learned so much from each other as we've gone through this. Really, the only way to do it is to stay together and get through it together on the other side, and figure it out as we go along here. The other letter in the acronym CAPE is advancing commerce. So we're still doing that as well, right? So now we're bringing you content, and the content, you've seen it. It's anywhere from 3 to 5 or maybe even 6 different virtual experiences a week. We want to keep you connected in any way we can. But now we're providing you with critical information, whether it's bringing someone from the SBA to talk about how to apply for the loan, someone from the U.S. Chamber to talk about payroll protection program, all that stuff. Now, hopefully, you all have already done that, and there still is money left in the second round of PPP. So I'm sure Larissa can help you with that. If you haven't, she's the expert, but don't give up. If you struggle a little bit during the first round, I would absolutely not give up and try and certainly give Larissa a call. As Jonathan mentioned, we're pretty plugged in on the national and state level through our affiliations with our chambers in Washington and in Tallahassee. So I'm on 2 calls a week with the state chamber, 3 calls a week with the U.S. Chamber, which is proven to be very valuable for us because we're able to digest that information for you, get it out to you through our communication channels to keep you up to speed on everything that's going on regarding that. And so I will make a comment right now about PPP. If you're following it, right now the House has recommended another couple $2 trillion in an incentive package. A lot of that has to do with funding our local and state governments. And the Senate is really concerned about liability issues. So, I'm talking to the business community, and so we're all concerned about getting some safe harbor protections and understanding what liability means when your employees ultimately come back to the office, and the type of protocols and guidelines that you have to have in place so that you're not putting yourself in jeopardy. A lot of that stuff is being talked about in DC, and so I don't anticipate any new legislation coming down to be effective in this month. It's probably into June right now. We're sitting at May 13th today. So that might not be available for another several weeks as they kind of hash it out. So, a lot of complex issues that they're dealing with in Washington, but they affect all of us. on this call. And so we will continue to provide you with, up-to-date information on those things. And these webinars that we're doing are all sort of in addition to all of our other virtual experiences, all that other normal activity that we've been providing. And so I hope that you've participated in some of those. I hope that they've been valuable for you. And if there's something that we're not giving you that you would like to hear more of, let me know, let Jonathan know, let anyone on the team know, and we could probably pull something together fairly quickly and provide that for you on a bigger scale like a webinar. Or of course, you can call any one of us anytime if there's a question that we have not answered already and you want an answer to. So you can see that, that I am in the office. That's the lobby with our logo. But most everyone else on the chamber team has been working remote now for, this is our 8th week. And so we've transitioned into that mode. And now we're going to transition back into coming into the office soon. We get our protocols and guidelines in place. And so hopefully we'll be back soon. No specific timeline. And I'm sure you're all thinking about that too. And so we've got some great resources about, bringing your employees back to the office, some of the things that you just need to have, some of the things that are highly recommended. OSHA has some great stuff. The CDC, of course, has some great stuff. All of that information is available on our website, on our COVID-19 resource page. And we will have other specific webinars and virtual experiences talking about that as we move along. I mean, the conversation that I've been having lately, say in the past week, has been a lot about, well, we're thinking about bringing our employees back. Can we? What does it look like? All that stuff, liability. So again, it's an ongoing dialogue, and we're gonna keep you up to speed. I'm staying on our CAPE acronym here. So I did the C, I did the A, and now it's the P. The P stands for protecting business. And so, Jonathan in the bio mentioned that, that the chamber also runs a political action committee called Blue PAC, and that allows us to endorse and fund candidates that are running for office. For example, in Boynton Beach, we endorsed Commissioner Hay. We endorsed Commissioner Penserga for his reelection successfully to get the right business-minded people sitting on commission that are making the right decisions for the business community. And when we think about how important that is today, right now, it's important in non-pandemic, situations. But when you have people sitting on a city council or a city commission, and they're going to make the decision whether or not they're going to initiate a $500,000 relief fund for you and for the small businesses, that's really important, that they understand the needs of business, they understand how businesses operate, and they're able to move that needle forward. And so I'm proud to say that Boynton Beach City Commission not only opened up a $500,000 fund for some businesses in the CRA, but they did a $60,000 fund for the city of Boynton Beach, and they're looking at doing some more. So you get that because you've got the right people sitting on the commission. And I know we don't necessarily in these times like to think about, the politics and elections, but think about how important it is that those people are up there going to continue to advocate for that. In the Boca market, we're moving the needle forward on a $500,000 small business relief fund as well. And then other cities in the county have done it. So it is important, that we continue to, stay busy in that space. Right now, there aren't any elections that have been canceled per se. So that's going to continue on. And we understand that we're all diverted and distracted with what's going on, but we're going to stay in that space and make sure we get the right people so that, hopefully we don't have another crisis, but if it is, we get the right people making good decisions for us, for you, for the business community moving forward. The other part of that protecting business is just our general advocacy for the business community. And so when this first hit, we reached out to our local governments in Boynton and Boca and said, hey, who's being hard hit right now? Restaurants and retail, right? Both could do, even retail could do like curbside takeout. If you needed product from your hair salon, you couldn't go in and get it, but like you could go pick up food, you could go pick up product outside your hair salon. They needed help. And, you know, most municipalities have sign codes that don't allow you to put up banners or A-frame signs on the road and things like that. Well, you know, Jonathan and Sarah and I communicated with our local governments. They eased the restrictions on that so that, you know, that storefront could put out, you know, an A-frame sign on the corner of the road so you'll know that they were open. Little things like that are critically important at any time, but especially now. And so, you know, we're going to continue to work with our local municipalities and the county as well when we talk about what does that look like moving forward, right? So it just doesn't go away. Just because Monday, 2 days ago, Palm Beach County opened in phase 1, you know, that you have to go back to the old sign code, sign ordinance. So those conversations with the electeds continue, and there's going to be new challenges as we go forward too when it comes to outdoor dining. You know, there are conversations about actually extending your outside into maybe the roadway. You know, if it's 2 lanes, going down to 1 lane, putting more seats out there, you can get a little bit more capacity, because right now the restaurants are limited to 25% indoor capacity. So all of those things, right? And the thing is, the private sector, the business owners, they're going to come up with really cool ideas, right, to do business and generate commerce. But as they're doing that, they might not be thinking about some of the codes that might be in place. So that's where we come in to be the advocates for them, to work with our electeds and make sure that they are either creating, you know, some temporary easing of restrictions or codes, or implementing some new ones, at least on a temporary basis, to help that business, you know, move along, get to the next day, get to the next week as we move through it. So that advocacy part, again, is really important. And again, I think, you know, you might not be thinking about that as you're just trying to survive, but we are, and we're still going to do it. And I talk to our commissioners and council people and city managers multiple times in every week, again, to make sure we're up to speed, so the information we're giving you is accurate and up to date. So you'll see us continuing to do that, to be, like usual, very busy in the advocacy space. The last letter in our acronym is enhancing community. And so, you know, we live in a beautiful part of the world. You know, we have great beaches, we have great parks, we have great schools, we have unbelievable higher ed, you know, in FAU land and Palm Beach State. And so we need to make sure that there's a balance between a strong, robust business community and a strong quality of life. And so enhancing the community in those spaces is important. And we continue to do that as well. Part of, or under that letter, under that pillar of enhancing community, is our commitment to public education. And we have a third entity that we run. So it's the Chamber, it's the Blue Pack, and it's the Education Foundation. And so we raise money through the business community. We give grants back to the public schools, K-12. Right now in Boca, we're looking to expand that, obviously, to South County. And so not only through education, but also through the nonprofit community. We have, in addition to enhancing our community, under the enhancing community pillar, we have a movement called Boca Chamber Festival Days. I know that, you know, Debbie's familiar with it. I see Donna Biazzi on the call, Best Foot Forward, of course, and many others. I don't think I can see everybody on the screen, but who take advantage of our commitment to the nonprofits. So we don't know today what Boca Chamber Festival Days looks like, because in the past they were events physically in person, and they happened in the month of August, and August is coming really close. But we will pivot. We're talking about it right now. We're strategizing about what we can do to help our nonprofits. In the meantime, and probably it might have been 4 weeks ago, I stood with the mayor of Boca Raton and announced our new initiative, or it's not new anymore, but moving business forward. And so everything that I've talked about already today was about moving your business forward however we can, educating you in the right way. And so under that initiative were some specific campaigns. I mentioned the restaurants being hard hit. And so you've probably seen our restaurant campaign. And we immediately reached out to all our member restaurants and beyond, and stayed up to date and up to speed on what they were doing. Were they doing delivery and takeout? Or are they just going to shut down? I know some restaurants that actually took advantage of this time to renovate and remodel during this time. So you see a ton of information on our social. I hope everyone's on our social. Our social is very robust, very active about supporting our restaurants that you can support. And then we recently mirrored that campaign for our nonprofits. And now you're seeing, and we sort of titled that a "Did You Know" campaign. Did you know? Do you know that the mission of Best Foot Forward is? Did you know that the mission of the Police Foundation is? Again, to keep our nonprofits who are struggling like everybody else. Donor bases dry up. You can't go take anybody out to lunch, or you couldn't as of until Monday, and kind of conduct the traditional business in the nonprofit world for fundraising. And that's critical to them existing and surviving. And their missions are awesome, and they're helping, our first responders. They're helping our children in need. And so we thought that was important. We create a campaign wrapped around supporting just our nonprofits. And you've seen that. That's been now in play for, several weeks or a couple weeks now. And so we'll continue to do that. So it's those kind of initiatives that we're listening to all of you. We are communicating with you literally on a daily basis, continuing to get information, helping you through a PPP or an idle type situation, trying to get the appropriate exposure, need to be connected with the mayor or with an elected official for something. We're here for you, as you always hear me say in my messages. So as you, and I hope you read them, every Tuesday morning and Friday morning, I send out a CEO message, and it'll have, there's some consistency in the content of it. Like the one that was just yesterday, seems like a long time ago, talking about that this week was a really important week, especially for our restaurants, our retailers, barbers, which I got to go this weekend to get mine, thankfully. Salons, cosmetology businesses, and things like that, that were finally able to open up. So obviously the governor last week announced that Palm Beach County could move into phase 1 ahead of Broward and Dade. So initially the thought was that Broward, Dade, Broward, and Palm Beach would kind of act together collaboratively in moving anything forward, moving any other phases, or loosening restrictions. The fact is that we Southeast Florida, those 3 counties, they're the hotbed. More cases have come out of those 3 counties than any other place in the state. And so we have to still, go by the numbers, go by the data, the information that we're given. And the fact is that, Palm Beach County is doing a good job. And the governor was able to release us, if you will, from the other 2 and move into phase 1 early. I suspect that Broward will move into phase 1 on this Monday. I think you'll probably hear him come out with an announcement, and Broward will get there probably on Monday, will be my guess. And then we'll see where Miami-Dade goes from there. But it is an important week because, think about it. If you've been a restaurant or a retailer or a salon or barbershop that's either been closed for 8 weeks, and of course that the salons and barbershops have been closed unless they're, like I mentioned, selling product via takeout. Some of the restaurants did do takeout and delivery. That's fantastic. of course, the retailers were primarily closed unless they were doing takeout as well. So it's a huge week, and so I've been on the horn with salons, with restaurants, with retailers, and so they are excited and eager to open. I mean, that's don't need to say that. They've been thinking about what it was going to look like for weeks and weeks. And so whether you're an independent, salon or restaurant or a chain restaurant, or the mall, by the way, the mall is open today, 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. I think the hours are. The mall in Boca is owned by Simon, and so out of Indianapolis, and so they've got very specific protocols and safety regulations that they're going to follow. The Boynton Mall is also open today, same hours, and the Boynton Mall today from, make sure I get this right, Jonathan, 11:30 to 2:30 in the food court, the police officers get a takeout meal for free in honor of National Police Week. So, but the point to talk about the opening is a couple things. My belief has always been that the market, you, me, everybody on this call, we're actually going to drive the activity back into the retail and restaurant sector based on our comfort level. So I'd like to take a quick little straw poll. Just raise your hand. Has anyone, since we opened Monday in phase 1, been to a restaurant since we opened on Monday? Raise your hand. All right, so I got maybe like 25 people on my screen. 3 people raised their hand. So that's good. And so I'm going to ask another question. When you walked into whatever restaurant that was, did you feel safe? Raise your hand. All right, so the same people that went in felt safe. Okay, that's good. But in my screen, that's 3 out of 25 people. That's a pretty small percentage. And so I think the rest of us, because I haven't either, did not raise our hand. And there's probably a variety of reasons why we haven't. But there's no question in polls and surveys that consumer confidence is gonna kind of reign here. And when we all go back and feel really comfortable in doing that. And so these restaurants and retailers understand that. And they are taking, first of all, they have guidelines and restrictions that they have to abide by. But many of them are going the extra distance and really working hard to make sure that they gain your confidence as a consumer and trust that when they walk in there to get your nails done, your hair cut, get your food, whatever, that you feel confident walking in that establishment. So again, we always said that, when we finally did open back up and we're only in phase 1, that it's not going to be a flip of the switch. So the restaurants that I have talked to are slow still. And again, it's only day 3. And consumer confidence, just sort of coupled with the fact that it's only day 3 and everyone's been used to either just picking up that food on the fly or cooking at home, whatever. I mean, it's going to take time to get our economy back on track. And I think that us communicating with the restaurants and with the retailers is really important. And I would urge you to if you do go out and you do go to that restaurant or retailer, and you have some suggestions for them, I'd share it with them. I know what I'm going to do is wherever I go, I'm literally going to take notes and I'm going to share it with that business owner, the restaurant owner, whatever, the mall, the GM of the mall sits on our board. And so I can give him all the feedback that I've heard because they want to create an environment that you feel safe and comfortable with to come in. And because it's all new, we've got guidelines, right? But then there's stuff beyond that, beyond the guidelines. And so I think that we should communicate, frequently with those establishments that we're going to, solicit and patron going forward. I think that's important. like I said earlier, we will begin to have some of those educational webinars and good content on getting back into business, on bringing your employees back, et cetera. I'd like to ask, if I could, by a raise of hand, if your business has employees and you've been remote, raise your hand if you're thinking about bringing your employees back to the office soon. I don't know how many people that applies to on the phone. All right, so there's a hand there. Okay. So that's also going to be tricky, as I mentioned. So we're going to provide some content going out there as well. So I talked about our acronym of CAPE. I talked about how now we've pivoted to deliver on that acronym of CAPE during these pandemic times. And listen, we're all changed forever. I don't see Zoom going away anytime soon. I don't anticipate that I'm going to travel for business on a plane anytime soon. So we're very aware of the impacts, direct or indirect, on our organization as a chamber, and then on your business. And so we've got to anticipate a lot of things, provide you with the information that we know, and share it and pass it along. I'll say one more thing before we open it up. I talked about our Golden Bell Education Foundation, that we give grants to our public schools. But there's also another component of Golden Bell, and that's our Young Entrepreneurs Academy. And so we're in our 9th year of delivering an entrepreneurial curriculum to about 20 students or so that go through that program every year. It's concurrent with the school year. It's open to any student in South Palm Beach County. We hold our classes here in Boca at St. Andrews. But these young kids, Rob Jager's on the line. Rob's one of our instructors and extremely engaged in that process. And so part of that experience is, if you know about it or have been to it, is at the end we go to the corporate headquarters of Office Depot in their great big community room, and these kids, grades 6 to 12, so they're young students, get up on that big stage like they were the CEO of Office Depot, and they're promoting it, or they're pitching their business in a Shark Tank type environment, to 5 successful entrepreneurs who will judge them and will determine how much money they'll get, if they get any, to help them, fund and seed their business going forward. So we did not want those students to not have that experience. It's pretty special. So again, like we did with everything else, we pivoted virtually to that. I'll tell you, it's a very complex process to have 13 students pitching their business, 5 judges, speakers. When you talk about Zoom, and when I say we've become experts at Zoom, we really have, and kudos to everyone involved to support that. But I tell you that to say that if you're not doing anything tonight from 5 to 7:30, 5 to a little after 7, I guarantee you will not be disappointed if you hop on that Zoom experience and watch these kids pitch their businesses. The concepts that they've come up with are nothing short of amazing. These kids identify a problem, they create a solution. It just sort of reinvigorates us about the future of business, the future of entrepreneurs on a go-forward basis. And grab your dinner and hop on the Zoom. It's really an amazing, gratifying experience. So I hope you could join us if you can make the time. You've seen us email it out and on social a ton, and so hopefully you'll join us. But you won't be disappointed when you hear these kids pitch. It's pretty amazing. So it's 12:40. I've talked probably way too long. I hope what I want to just kind of give you a sense of what we're doing, how we're doing it, why we're doing it, and hopefully that helped. And now, Jonathan, if you want to maybe manage some questions from some of the group, we can do that now too.
Sure. We actually have a question here, first for Larissa. Gary White would like to know if you are a resource for the idle moment.
No, I responded to him, but I can get you the email address if anybody needs that. I'm sorry, not the email address, the website. If anybody needs that type of loan, if you're not eligible for PPP or something like that, again, reach out to me and I can put it in the group chat just so you have the website to go to.
Thank you.
Thank you, Larissa.
I know you had covered it a little bit. We have a question here asking about specific restrictions to the stores within the mall. Like, is it limited to a certain number percentage? I know you covered a little bit of that.
Yeah, so it's a unique situation, right? So the stores within the mall, no matter how big or small you are, have to follow the restriction of 25% capacity. So if you walk into Foot Locker or whatever, you know, each store in the mall has a, you know, capacity by fire code essentially. It's still 25% of that right now. You know, when we move into the next phase, I suspect that'll go to 50. But right now, today, as of Monday, when we went into phase 1, it's 25% capacity and following physical distancing restrictions. So, you know, you can't have 12 people at the sale rack all standing next to each other, right? It's still, and so, you know, those stores are responsible for managing the distancing. We know that that's not easy to do. Again, human nature is going to take over. You know, we haven't been to a retail store in 8 weeks. And so we go there and, you know, we're really going to have to recalibrate our brains when we get out in public at the restaurant and in the retail scenarios, because that's just not what we're used to as human beings. We're not used to, like, oh, wait a minute, there's Jonathan. I've got to, you know, stay 6 feet or so. I'll go look at sneakers or something. I mean, to me, it's a total recalibration of how we're going to think, and it's not easy. And so, you know, some of the folks that I've talked to who have been out to restaurants are like, I can't believe it. People are so rude that, you know, they were so close together. What's going on? And, you know, and I get it. I think it's going to be hard for all of us to do it. But listen, we have to have individual responsibility. You know, if just because someone else isn't going to do it, maybe they haven't recalibrated yet, or they just haven't thought. I just don't believe people are intentionally not physical distancing because they want to you know, just to be that way. I think that as human beings, it's not in our nature to recognize that, oh, wait a minute, I'm walking behind Rob Jager and I'm 4 feet. I need to take another step back. I think it's going to take time, and I think we all, and you know, you'll hear me or you know, read my words and my CEO messages about, you know, being patient, being kind, and doing our part, and we can lead by example. And for those, you know, who can't yet, just don't have it down yet, or just don't care, unfortunately, well, we'll lead by example and we'll do the right thing. And then I think, again, we'll gradually, it'll start to make better sense to us. You know, I mean, I go to Publix, right? And it took me a while. I mean, there's a big, you know, yellow stripe on the floor, you know, 6 feet. And I pull my card, I'm out, you know, so, oops, sorry, you know, again, it takes time. It's human nature. You know, it takes time to change habits, et cetera. So I guess I gave you a little bit more, but yes, the stores in the mall can open 25% capacity according to the restrictions and the physical distancing. But in talking to the GM of the mall yesterday, you know, there's 220 or so stores or so in that mall. They're all going to open at varying times, all based on their corporate, you know, a philosophy of when they want to open and when they can, you know, safely open those doors. I know Saks is going to be open on this Saturday, for example, but we don't have an official list yet. We'll get that when we get that. We will absolutely share it, you know, for both malls in Boca and Boynton. Sorry for the long-winded answer.
Our next question is, have you heard of any businesses or a majority of businesses that will be going 100% virtual moving forward?
That's a great question. I can tell you this. Well, if they weren't already very integrated into a virtual or remote environment, I don't know of anybody that would transition into that. If a company has been working at a certain level, being very successful virtual, I could see for the foreseeable future them staying virtual. I'm going to give you an example. Well, actually, I'll give you two examples. I'm going to talk about the Chamber first. Chamber of Commerce is not a virtual organization, obviously, right? We've had to transition into that. The Chamber will not be a 100% virtual organization. We will come back to our roots and what we do best. But we're gonna operate now in this new normal, and there may be some virtual component of what we do going forward when it comes to our people, our human capital. I'll give you another example. We have a major employer here in Boca Raton, several hundred employees. They're a technology company, so again, they had the ability. They were not a virtual company. They were able to transition to virtual very quickly because they're a medical technology company. They're not going to come back online and bring their employees back until one of three things is going to happen: a vaccine, repeated, constant, ongoing testing, maybe daily, or a treatment that's found to be effective. So I thought that was a big statement, right? I mean, you get 200 or 300 employees, but they're all working effectively from home. So in that case, they're going to stay 100% virtual until one of those three things happens. Now, 100%, they have a big building, they have big space. So you've got, your engineers and folks coming into the building to keep it clean and things like that. But that's a company who virtually will be 100% virtual until, again, according to, to their philosophy, will be like that for a while, unless a vaccine pops really quick or we're able to get constant repeat testing, which is coming. That'll come a lot quicker than a vaccine. Or there's a treatment, a medical treatment that can solve the case. So I hope that answers the question.
Well, good. It's a good lead into the next question, and it says, do you know if FAU is doing any research to support a vaccine?
I do, but it's all top secret information. If I told you, I'd have to kill you. The answer is yes, they are, but I don't know more than that, and there's a reason, just because I think that they want to keep the information very. I mean, when you're working on something like this, and any kind of information that leaked out that might prove not to be true or correct, it would, the media would kill them for it. So they keep it all fairly tight, under the vest. That, understandably so.
We're going to roll to the beaches now. And there's a question here, and I'm not sure, we may have to get back to them on the answer on this, but obviously everybody knows the beach is opened up, and the county has stated it's for county residents only. And so the question is, do we know how they're planning to manage that?
Yeah, so beaches here, challenging. So the county commission is going to have a meeting this Friday. It is anticipated that they will approve the opening of beaches in Palm Beach County to residents only, which was one of the commissioners' requests, and that it would be exercise, walking, those kind of things, not to bring your cooler and 20 of your friends and hang out at the beach. They'll specify that on Friday. It's anticipated that they will open them. I think they're going to sort of refine some of the restrictions or define some of the restrictions at the meeting on Friday. Once that happens, then the municipalities can either follow suit exactly with what that executive order would be, according to whatever the activity on the beach is said by the county, or they could create more restrictions. So, we understand the flow of executive orders, right? The lower the government, the more strict you can be, but not the more easing you can be. So, for example, right now the beaches aren't open in Palm Beach County. Okay, so right now they're not per a county order. Boca, Boynton, Delray, a local government cannot open them, right? So the county supersedes local when it goes in that order. However, if, and as anticipated, the county opens the beaches at their meeting on Friday for probably Monday, a local municipality could have stricter or have more restrictions than the county. And we anticipate that Boca Raton will probably have some additional restrictions to whatever the county order is when they open their beaches. But there's a reason for that. We are the border. Boca Raton is the border community, so you could really consider all of South Palm Beach County, Boca, Delray, Boynton. We're very close to Broward, right? So Broward hasn't even entered phase 1 of restaurant, retail, et cetera, right? And so their beaches are not open. So if Palm Beach County opens beaches, Boca follows suit because we're right next door to Broward, who cannot go on their beach. Again, logic will tell you, Deerfield and Pompano and those guys are all going to come up and probably hit the beach in Boca or Delray or Boynton. And so, understandably so, we wouldn't necessarily want to see that massive influx, right? The whole point right now in opening anything is controlled physical distancing. That wouldn't necessarily lend itself to that philosophy if all of Broward County wants to go to the beach, understandably, and the first place they can go is Boca, right? Or Delray or Boynton. So I think what you'll see is that the county will open with their restrictions, and Boca will probably implement some additional guidelines and restrictions until Broward opens. Once Broward opens, we're not going to have that issue, and then we can then follow, ease up on whatever those additional restrictions were, whether it's not opening the parks so that you can park and go to the beach, whether it's going to be for Boca pass holders only. So they've got some options. I mean, all municipalities have options to have more restrictions. Boca is just in a unique situation when you're a border community and that border's not open yet. You got to deal with some other issues.
Yeah, that looks like it was the last of our questions, and I don't know if you want to just mention about the breakfast tomorrow.
Yeah. So again, as we've gone virtual here with our events, it's unbelievable to think just 2 breakfasts ago in March, we actually had that breakfast in person. It was over at the Embassy Suites. We had an executive from the U.S. Chamber talk. This was just when this thing was coming up, brand new. And we were all together, a little less than normal, but we were there, we were together. But that seems like just like a million years ago. So, we were unable to obviously have one in April, but I'm very excited that we are going to have a monthly membership breakfast, just like this. Well, not just like this, but on a virtual platform. It's tomorrow morning. It's not, we gave you a break. You can sleep in an extra 30 minutes. They're normally at 8 a.m. This is at 8:30 a.m. And it's sponsored by West Boca Medical Center, the hospital, which we thought couldn't be a better sponsor because the CEO is going to speak and talk about what they've been experiencing with this COVID scenario. And then they're going to have a cool orthopedic doctor on to talk about a new machine that they have to do surgery. But we are excited to do that. And, you know, again, as much as we can bring back any kind of a normal for us, you know the drill, monthly breakfast. I mean, there's death, taxes, and a chamber monthly breakfast, right? And so, you know, we're bringing back the monthly breakfast, and we're excited about it. We hope you're going to join us. Hey, the good thing is you don't have to get up early and shower and shave and put those clothes on. You can just roll out at about 7:45 or no, 8:15 and hop on and listen to George Rizzuto, the CEO of West Boca, share his experiences. And trust me, he's got a perspective no one else has, leading that hospital, and then hear from the doctor. So, you know, I hope you'll join us. And, you know, and again, you don't have to pay your $30 either, although we're not providing you with breakfast. You're going to have to, you know, get your own healthy breakfast wherever you're going to watch us from. But we do hope you'll join us. And I see that it's 12:57. We'll stay right on time. But let me reiterate, please read the CEO messages that go out. Please communicate with us. I can't, any one of us on the team, I don't care if it's midnight or 5 in the morning, we're working around the clock to deliver all of this activity to you and stay up to speed on all the calls that we're on a daily and weekly basis. We need to hear from you. We think we're doing okay in terms of helping you, but if we're not, we just want you to call, email anytime, and you'll get a response, because we're all eager. We're all still here. We're all still together, getting through all this, and we'll continue to stay together to get through all this. But it's awesome to see everybody's face on the screen. Jonathan, thank you, and Larissa, thank you for all you're doing to help the business community and supporting us and supporting this event. So hopefully I'll see you tonight at 5 o'clock, and you want to watch all these awesome kids pitch their business. And then maybe again tomorrow morning at 8:30 for the membership breakfast. But thank you all for taking this lunch hour with us today. Hopefully I provided with some good information, and we'll see you soon. Thanks.
Thank you.